Hello and welcome to the interview. Our special guest today is Winnie Byanyima, the Executive Director of Oxfam International. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like to start with this recently released 30-page document by the Independent Commission set up in the wake of what's been called the Haiti scandal last year. Which has described what it says is a toxic work environment in Oxfam. It says staff are critical of both management behaviour and company procedures for dealing with bullying, harassment and sexual misconduct. It also found bullying was so prevalent that staff said they did not believe the company's values were understood by all employees. How has all of this been allowed to happen at Oxfam?
You know, last year in February, we found that we had some of our staff who had not behaved according to our values and had abused their power in Haiti, that we had not done enough to deal with it. So we apologized to the people the women whom we offended, whom our staff offended, and we went on a journey of self-improvement. One of the things we did was to put in place that independent commission, human rights experts, women's rights experts from all over the world, to help us to look ourselves in the mirror and see what was wrong and to correct it. So this report you're referring to is their interim report based on some discussions they've had with our staff and some of our partners and our donors, and they're telling us that yes, Oxfam, we are like many of our peers, that we don't have in place all the systems that will help us to choose the right people, to induct them well, and to punish whenever some of them do things that are contrary to our values. We're learning this. We've made a lot of efforts. We've put in place new policies. We've trained 110 or so new investigators to investigate when things happen. And we're working on changing the culture in our organization, the way we use the power that we have, and to keep women safe and all those who come into contact with us.
But you were in this job since 2013 as the Executive Director of Oxfam International, so you were in that job while this was going on. Was there any pressure on you afterwards to resign your post as a result of these findings?
Not really. The cases that were revealed in the media in February happened in 2011, many years before I joined the organization. And the issue was how we handled those 7 cases that were brought to us, that we investigated. We did investigate, but we didn't take the action that we should have taken, which was to be public about what had happened, to take steps to, we did punish some of them, but one got away without being punished, and we didn't make all the investments that we needed to make sure it never happens again. So those are the things we've been correcting. I wasn't asked to resign, but it didn't happen when I was there. But some people resigned who were there at the time that we didn't take the right actions. But the most important thing is that we've been taking the steps to recover. First of all, to put in place systems that prevent and that detect and that punish when it happens.
Are they working?
Absolutely. For example, you will never get another reference from Oxfam and go away and repeat the same kind of mistake, because it was easy at that time just to get your friend to write you a reference. Now we have a central system, and you have to get your reference done by the organization after looking at your record in the organization.
Now, a lot of people who were lifelong donors to Oxfam, those who gave money regularly, ordinary people, stars, organisations, they heard about this scandal, they saw the findings, they said, this is over, we're not giving any more money. We don't know the extent of how much money has not been invested in Oxfam over the past year because your fiscal year hasn't been published yet. What are you doing to try to win back that support that's been lost as a result of this scandal?
so much. It's true, we lost some of our regular supporters who had been contributing to our struggle to fight poverty in poor countries. We regretted that. We apologized. We have been showing every 3 months the steps we are taking against a 10-point plan that we put in place. Part of it is about being transparent. We tell the world how many cases we have had every 3 months, how many we have progressed and completed investigations and acted on. We keep all our supporters now informed about how we are dealing with any misbehavior in our organization. But over and beyond that, this is a question of proving to everybody that we are changing. That is the most important thing. It is not about talking. And we are changing. We are changing because we are addressing the real issue, which is abuse of power in the organization. So we are working on making sure that in all our units, everywhere around the world, staff are talking about how are we managing ourselves in the unit. Is everybody free to speak? Are women able to call out abuse when it happens? Are the most junior staff able to express themselves? So these things about how power is exercised in units are the real things that will change us, and they are happening.
Okay, let's move on to a few other issues, up-to-date issues. First of all, about migrants who are coming across the Mediterranean from Libya to Europe. In an open letter, Oxfam has accused the European Union of being complicit in the deaths of 5,300 migrants, saying that the EU is not accepting them and sending them back to Libya where they are mistreated and abused. Is the EU listening to you?
It is very, very painful. This is, I'm very, very emotional about this because I myself came to the UK when I was barely 18 as a refugee, and the country accepted me. I was running away from a brutal dictator, Idi Amin, in Uganda. But today, to see young people who are fleeing abuse of human rights, dictatorships, poverty, fleeing across the Mediterranean and then being pushed back to die really hurts me. And these are countries which are the ones that made the laws, the humanitarian law, the law for refugees, the human rights laws were made by these same European countries. So it breaks my heart. And indeed, Oxfam has been telling Europe to wake up and live up to its responsibilities. Yes, and the agreements it made at the United Nations.
It's not listening. It doesn't appear to be listening. If you look at the situation in Italy, you look at how migrants are being treated in other countries, they're not being accepted. They don't even want to let them off boats. What can you do to change that situation?
We will not stop talking to them and will not stop showing them where the leadership is. Take a country like my own, Uganda. We are one of the poorest countries in the world. Today, about 1 million refugees from South Sudan are in our country. They are not even suffering in a camp. They've been received in families, in communities. With the little they have, people are taking them. And here in Europe, rich people in Europe are saying, oh, our classrooms are too full, our hospitals are stretched. This is selfishness. This is wrong. This is not humanity. And so we will continue telling Europe that they should actually take their fair share. Okay. And we have pushed at the United Nations. We want a formula so that every country is able to host what it can manage. And Europe is not even anywhere near meeting what could be its fair share of hosting people who are fleeing danger.
We've got another big issue that Oxfam is fighting about, and that is the 26 richest people in the world who own more wealth than half of the poorest people on the planet combined. You've asked the government to make the necessary arrangements to tax these people more so money can be handed over for education and for health matters. But they're not listening to you on that one either, are they?
Indeed, Oxfam's report this year is torching the role of governments in fueling this extreme inequality. Governments have chosen not to tax the rich and big corporations, and instead they cut public services for ordinary people, their health, their schools. 262 million children are not in school. 10,000 people will die every day, including today, because they can't pay for a doctor or buy medicines. And all this because governments are not providing these services because they won't tax the rich. And so we are torching governments this year. And we are telling governments it's time to tax wealth. 4 cents out of every dollar, only 4 cents, is tax from wealth. Because corporations and rich people have been able to get governments to take them out of the tax bracket. They don't pay tax on their wealth. It's time to put that tax back on. And you say they are not listening. I think they are beginning to listen. I'm seeing a momentum towards getting the rich to pay their fair share. I think that what I'm seeing here in France, for example, might be about that. The Yellow Jackets, I think they were offended by the cut in tax for rich people. I don't know enough about this country, but certainly I heard a lot of noise about the unfairness of putting down the tax on rich people.
We'll have to leave it there, unfortunately. Winnie Byanyima, thank you very much for joining us, the Executive Director of Oxfam International. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Because a new page of history gets written every day. Because breaking news can't wait. Information everywhere. In all situations. On every subject. Understanding the world. Imagining the world. France 24. A different take on the news.